Hi everyone, it's Erin. It's Tuesday, January the 17th, 2016. I listened to an interview today on the Power Hour, which is Joyce Riley's show, but her guest host, Daniel Brigman, who's a great replacement, has taken over when Joyce isn't up to doing it. As you know, as you may know, she has health problems that she's dealing with right now, and we want to keep her in our prayers because she is a voice of truth out there in the wilderness of lies. And anyway, Daniel interviewed Stewart Rhodes today, who is the founder of the Oathkeepers. And although I have my personal differences with him, for example, he wouldn't stand up for the birth certificate, which is Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, that we need a natural-born citizen POTUS with two citizens, parents, plural, born on American soil. I spoke to him face-to-face about that I would say, going on 6-7 years ago. And since then, I've just not been a big fan. Also, he didn't go out to Oregon when the Patriots there really needed him the most and stayed home. So he may be on the no-fly list now, which you'll hear him say, but he wasn't on the no-drive list, and he could have been to Oregon and back several times by now. So, he drove in and he drove out of Bunkerville. I don't know. So anyway, that's my differences with Stewart Rhodes, and I would love for you to listen to this interview because even if he is a Fed, he's a good talker. And everything he has to say in this interview, I thought today was very powerful and well worth the listen, and I hope his audience really pushes for what he's got recommended here, and that is to make number one Trump's priority to free the P3s. And if you don't know what P3s is, it stands for Patriot Political Prisoners, and that would include Schaefer Cox, of course. We advocate for him. So anyway, just please give it a listen, and I think it's worth your time hearing this. I know it's a long interview, it's an hour, and I'm sorry I couldn't take out the commercials, but here you go.
This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. So glad that you're joining us. We're in the second hour of the show today. Our next guest, a lot of you are familiar with, I'm sure. He is Stewart Rhodes. He is a former Army paratrooper. He's also the director of Oathkeepers, which is an organization I just am ecstatic about. One of the biggest problems that I see we're facing is this idea of lack of knowledge, ignorance of what the law is. And we see lawlessness because nobody knows what the law is. And so his organization is fighting this and to pump the Constitution. He's a former member of Representative Ron Paul's D.C. staff. He also used to write a monthly Enemy at the Gate column, and he also graduated from Yale Law School. So we'll ask him a little legal questions and Constitution stuff. But now I would want to welcome, with much fanfare, Stewart Rhodes of Oathkeepers.org. Stewart, so glad you're at the Power Hour.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, we've had requests to have you on for a while, and for whatever reason, we just, scheduling or what have you. But now this is perfect. I'm so glad you're coming at this time. We're facing the next 3 days, so much unknown, so much excitement at the same time about the inauguration of Donald Trump. And your organization has done yeoman's work with an operation where you're actually infiltrating some of these quote-unquote protesters and seeing what they're up to. Why don't you explain that a little bit of what's going on there?
Well, ever since November 9th, the day after the election, we inserted some of our Oathkeeper members into the various groups, the Disrupt J20, the anti-fascist coalitions, and also the new one, the Bill Ayers-inspired, communist-inspired Refuse Fascism organization that has sprung up with, Rosie O'Donnell as one of their multiple, Ed Asner, kind of the who's list of Hollywood communists are behind this. And we've infiltrated all these groups because they have all made it quite clear that they're going to cross the line way beyond free speech and assembly and go into basically terrorism, the attempt to intimidate people and coerce and use force to assault to prevent people from enjoying themselves or from being able to even access the inauguration. And most disturbing thing is yesterday there was also a weapons cache found in D.C. Near the three of them actually, near American University where Disrupt J20 is conducting their training. So we're putting all these pieces together, and it's not looking good. Not that we think they'll be successful. We think, what they're trying to do is some kind of a strange American Spring version of what you saw in the Middle East. For example, the removal of Mubarak from power in Egypt. They're trying to create this crisis. In fact, they even say that very clearly. Well, they want to create a political crisis that's bad enough that it gives elites inside of the establishment who don't like Trump and the excuse they need to pull some rabbit out of their hat. We think they're going to fail, but they can still hurt people, and that's our big concern. So that's why we're going to be there. We already had Oathkeeper members who were in the area doing this work. We've had others who were planning on going because they're Trump supporters, but now, as of today, this morning, I'm going to announce a call to action for our members who are qualified, who are either retired police officers or infantry or otherwise able-bodied and capable of taking care of themselves, to go there so they can watch over people. We don't want to see a repeat of what we saw in San Jose, California, during the election season, where you had people being beaten and assaulted, and the police just standing by and doing nothing. So our concern is that might happen again here.
Well, my hat's off to you. I just applaud what you're doing. There's so much concern, from people like me, from our audience, about what will happen. What are you seeing that you said their objective is just cause so much unrest? I mean, you're talking about arms caches. Are we talking about?
Well, that's a new thing. Before that, it was supposed to be a big mass demonstration on the ellipse, demanding that
we got to go to break. We got to go to break, Stewart. We're going to get a quick 3-minute break. So after this break, we're going to be back with Stewart and talk more about the inauguration, more about what's going on and what his organization is doing, oathkeepers.org. We'll be back after this 3-minute break with Stewart Rhodes.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
This is Joyce Riley from the Power Hour, and I want to introduce you to Numana Storable Foods. This is the first brand of storable foods that I am willing to put my name behind. It's food you can trust. No GMOs, no MSG, no chemical preservatives, and no fake meat. Plus, Numana doesn't just make that claim. They back it up with independent evaluation and testing. Another thing that Numana really does that excites me is the delicious vegetarian options. If your standards are as high as mine, I can confidently tell you that Numana Storable Foods are the quality choice that you've been waiting for. Numana won't just meet your expectations, they will exceed them. And that's why we're thrilled to have the good guys from Numana joining the Power Hour family. Go to powerprepper.com and learn about Numana Storable Foods. You can also call 877-817-9829. That's 877-817-9829. Numana, the storable food you'll love to eat.
This is Ben Gordon, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. There's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-290-8480. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-290-8480. That's 1-800-290-8480.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-340-5528. That's 800-340-5528. Again, 800-340-5528.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. So glad that you're joining us. 8 minutes after the hour, I should say. And we're with Stewart Rhodes from Oathkeepers.org. And, you know, in the back of a lot of people's minds, certainly the audience, it's this concept that there'd be some kind of disruption, some kind of martial law so that the administration, the Obama administration, was never have to leave. All these things certainly are in our mind and certainly we feel like we have reason to believe those. So, Stewart, what exactly is going on, do you think, with all these protest groups, the Disrupt J20, which is Disrupt January 20th, the inauguration day? Is this a small isolated instance for this inauguration, or is this a much bigger thing that we're seeing?
Well, I think it's part of a pattern we've already seen. There was the failed lawsuits after the election, and then there was the attempt to intimidate the electors and coerce their vote to change, and basically terrorism against them, death threats. And we sent out people to protect electors who requested our help. So this is part of that same pattern. It's basically a massive hissy fit by the left in this country because they lost the election. But it's a potentially dangerous hissy fit when you've got Weather Underground terrorist Bill Ayers crawling back out of retirement, coming back in along with Carl Dix of the Revolutionary Communist Party USA. I mean, this is just, kind of surreal. But you have these open communists coming out and organizing a new version of the SDS, Students for Democratic Society, and this new coalition called Refuse Fascism, and openly calling for the overthrow of the United States government and calling for the suspension of the inauguration and new elections. I mean, on their own webpage, this is not just, conspiracy theory. This is what they say. An answer to how could Trump and Pence actually be prevented from ruling, they say, and I'm quoting, by the intersection of two things. First, massive protest and resistance from tens of millions of ordinary people, daring and determined to actually prevent the fascist regime from taking over and implementing its program, beginning more or less immediately and growing to a crescendo in the next few weeks, and through that, creating a crisis of rule. And second, coupled with this, attempts by different factions in the establishment power structure, which have real differences with Trump and Pence, to solve the crisis by preventing them from taking the reins of power. And of course, they're talking about people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer now coming together in this united front against Russia, and then turning and having a united front against Donald Trump also. So this is what bothers us and concerns us, is you have Bill Ayers. He's a good friend of Barack Obama's. It's where, Barack Obama got his political start in Bill Ayers' living room. And he's talking about the establishment that he already knows is hostile to Trump. And he's trying to give them an excuse and a reason to do what they want to do, which is find a way to get rid of him. Do I think they'll be successful? I don't think so. But the problem is it's not going to stop here. It's going to be, I believe, a new wave of terrorism from the left, like we saw with the Weather Underground back in the 60s and 70s, where they were assassinating police officers, blowing up police stations, using sniper attacks on cops, things like that. It didn't work. In their crazy communist mind, they think they can finally, start the revolution. I think they're going to fail like they did back then. But the problem is it'll cause even more division in this country, even more mutual distrust and hatred, which is actually the point, I think, of the globalists who are pulling their strings. George Soros is directly behind Refuse Fascism. He is funding this.
I've heard reports of 1,000 buses of people being brought in for protesters there. Who in the world's, my question was, who in the world's paying for all this?
George Soros.
Yeah, I guess it's George Soros. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I guess he has the Black American Express card, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, it's through the Tides Foundation and it's through his Open Society Foundation. That's exactly who's funding this stuff. It's no mystery at all. It's always George Soros. It's just kind of crazy the way he does this across the world. He funds revolutions and civil wars and destructions of economies. That's what he does.
From what you can tell, we've heard reports of upwards of 1 million people are going to be in Washington for the inauguration, one form or another. How many people are going to be protesters there? What's kind of what
don't really know. It could be. This is, to me, it's frankly AstroTurf. If they have to bus all these people in, is a good sign. It's not like they've got a bunch of people that are local to the area that are going out there. They're busing in the more radical. And that's what they always do. They did that in Baltimore. That's what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. We were on the rooftops in Ferguson guarding against arsonists. It was outsiders who were trying to burn down those buildings with people in them. It wasn't locals. It was always outsiders. This is actually a good sign. The problem is that they still hurt people. So I don't know. It's a good question. It could be as many as 100,000, depending upon their turnout. I think it's going to fizzle, though. I think that most of it's going to be Answer Coalition people who just want to, maybe at the most run out on the road and try to do their human chain and get arrested and that kind of silly street theater. But the problem is, it only takes a couple of idiots with weapons, or like they're plotting, like with the Project Veritas disclosures from yesterday, bicuric acid inside the building. They're trying to gas people. I think it's kind of ironic that someone that calls themselves anti-fascist were planning on gassing people in an enclosed space. So, but
Yeah, but that's just me and you, right?
Right, exactly. What has us concerned, though, is the apparent the open door and green light they're getting. There's no FBI arrests. There's no movement by the D.C. Metro to arrest anybody. As of this morning, no one's been arrested, even though this has all been blown out in the open. They still not arrested them.
Well, that was a sure sign for me that something nefarious is behind this. I mean, there's been reports of over 1,500 flat-out death threats of Trump on Twitter, and yet we have zero arrests to this point. Zero arrests at 1,500 flat-out death threats. I'm really glad that you mentioned being at Ferguson, protecting the electors, some of the things that your organization does for Oathkeepers. I just can't say enough. I met you, the first time I met you was at the Bundy Ranch, and we're going to get into that a little bit, but really what you guys do and how you take your oath, the military oath, and now you bring it back here to civilian life or in police officers' life, just can't commend you enough. Love what you do. My question was, you see other groups like the Bikers for Trump, they're going to come to help protect him like they did in was it Chicago or Cleveland? I can't remember. But are you guys coordinated with any of these other groups, kind of working with them to?
Not officially. We have been coordinating. We've been communicating with some of them. We know there's going to be a lot of 3%ers there as well. So we will do our best to communicate with their leadership, but what we're going to ask our guys to do is blend in. Just go in groups of 2, 3, 4, and just kind of blend in and observe. And if we see, our big concern is, like I said, someone being targeted, a single vulnerable person, a woman or an elderly couple being targeted and assaulted. And so that's what we want to be spotting for. That and anything that's illegal. Any prep for terrorist activity, we'll spot and report to the cops, but we'll step in if we see someone being assaulted. And I know the Bikers of Trump will be there, about 5,000 of them, and hats off to them too.
Wow, 5,000. What do you have any idea what kind of numbers your organization will be there?
Nope, I don't. So I'm just going to put the call out today, and we already have some going, and I wouldn't want to say, because I don't want the bad guys to know our numbers either. So
yeah, that's. I should
basically a coalition of the willing.
Absolutely. Well, then this whole election, I've never asked you your opinion on the election, what you thought. I mean, we were told day after day that Trump had no chance.
Right.
And for me, it was very encouraging. For years, I've been very disillusioned about the direction of our country, very, very upset as most people. But that was such a 1776 kind of moment, like, pulling victory from the jaws of defeat kind of thing. What was your feeling about the election?
We dodged a massive bullet. I think Hillary Clinton would have been the last president of the United States as we know it if she had gotten into that office. I'm not exaggerating. I think that it would have led to the destruction of our country or an open fight to restore it. There's no way she would have been able to resist the temptation to try to use all the power at her fingertips against her political enemies. So I think we dodged a massive bullet. I think Trump's a reflection of the disgust of the American people. I mean, the left has spent 8 years demonizing people, insulting them, calling them racist and xenophobic and homophobic and just, everything under and stupid. If you insult half the country, don't be surprised when you lose the election when they don't vote for you. It's not a good strategy. But instead of realizing that and having some, like an introspective moment, they're doubling down on stupid, and they're screaming it louder. They're screaming louder and louder, the racist and fascist. And all they're really doing is committing political suicide. So I think it's really great, frankly, that Bill Ayers and other commies are coming out of the woodwork and unveiling the hammer and sickle commie flag, because that's what the left really is. They really are Marxists. But the great danger we have is we have turncoats inside the so-called right also. John McCain and Lindsey Graham are the two chief, examples. We've got these neoconservative globalists who have, also love wide open borders, also love the destruction of the West, and they're doing the bidding of their masters. So we have to be careful that we don't, turn a blind eye to the right. We have to make sure that we understand inside the GOP are globalists who are every bit as dangerous as the ones on the left.
What do you make of Obama? It seems like the last 2 weeks he's just went hog wild with all these executive orders and trying to get things across. It's almost like is he just trying to delegitimize Trump when he gets in, or does he have some bigger agenda here?
I think he's trying to. Well, I think the Gold Butte thing, the massive land stealing in the West, was a provocation against Westerners. That was an attempt to stir up Westerners. Just like over in Europe, they're trying to stir up a war with Russia. I think they're trying to create a crisis that'll give them some excuse to, who knows, maybe him try to hold new elections. They're trying. The big thing to watch for right now is Russia, is to watch the attempt to, don't be surprised to see a dogfight happen or a plane get shot down or some kind of firefight with U.S. troops and Russian troops as their catalyst. That's what I worry about. I just hope we get the next 3 days.
We got a break. This is a 4-minute break. And on the other side, I want to get into, about the Gold Butte land takeover, about Bundy losing his land, and we'll talk about that and where we first met. So glad to have Stewart Rhodes of Oathkeepers.org.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
We've all heard about antibiotics, but what about probiotics? Antibiotic means against life. Probiotic means pro-life. Antibiotics kill bacteria that are infectious and harmful to the body. They also kill the good bacteria, though, that are necessary for good health. Probiotics from living streams replaces the healthy balance of friendly bacteria and normalizes the digestive tract. Gastritis, ulcers, diarrheal diseases, just a few of the problems people develop when the intestinal flora is out of balance. Living Stream's probiotics create the healthy balance needed for good digestion, suppresses growth of pathogenic bacteria, and actually increases resistance to infection. Call the Power Hour, 877-817-9829. Order your Living Stream probiotics today. They're available in 2, 4, and 8-ounce bottles, and Living Stream's probiotics comes with a money-back guarantee. Get your body back in balance with Living Stream's probiotics today. 877-817-9829. That's 877-817-9829. Living Stream's probiotics. Everyone should be pro-life.
We're all looking for safe, effective, and all-natural remedies for ourselves and our family. The solution is Simplex. Simplex oils provide natural anti-inflammatory and pain relief, antioxidant and nerve protection, and is an amazing topical acne removal and skincare supplement. Natural healing at a very affordable price. Find out more about our non-psychoactive CBD oil products. Go to SimplexSpecials.com. That's SimplexSpecials.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the Internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. See website for details.
Need some extra cash today? Do you have bad credit or maxed out credit cards? If so, turn your radio up. 45cash.com is one of the nation's largest personal loan networks with over 50 different lenders. Now you can get a personal loan for up to $5,000 with any type of credit discreetly from your computer or smartphone and with no paperwork to send in. That's right, no paperwork whatsoever. Your cash will hit your bank account as soon as tomorrow, as our lenders have millions of dollars to lend regardless of your credit history. Visit 45cash.com and you can have up to $5,000 in no time. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income and you can get the loan you need now, regardless of your credit. Go to 45cash.com from your smartphone or computer to get the cash you need. Visit 45cash.com. Type www.45cash.com directly into the address bar. That's 45cash.com. 45cash.com.
So glad that you stuck around. We have Stewart Rhodes, who I just love his organization, Oathkeepers.org, and all the work they do to defend the Constitution, to really defend you and what it means in your life. And the Constitution is the barrier between the government intervention and your really free exercise of what God gave you, your life. And so that's what his organization does. It protects your life. And we're talking about Obama's executive orders, the land really grab, there's no other way to say it, in Nevada. Now, the first time I met Stewart was at the Bundy Ranch, I think what year was that, Stewart? Was that 14?
2014.
Okay, God, time goes quick. 2014, in April, we met at the Bundy Ranch. There were many people all over the country there. Of course, the government was taking all his cows. He was the last rancher in there, and that happened. And then more recently, his son went to the aid of the Hammonds, who are having similar problems in Oregon. They occupied a wilderness refuge, which I didn't think was the smartest idea. Stewart may want to comment what he thought, but then they were arrested and went to trial. And we had Sheriff Mack talk about this, and he testified at the trial. And then lo and behold, they were acquitted and found not guilty. What's your feelings about really how all this has transpired? The land takeover, the Bundy Ranch, then the Oregon, and then the final verdict and the jury nullification that went on.
Well, I think the jury did the right thing. I think it shows the wisdom of the founding fathers in giving us a jury of our peers that can judge the justice of the application of the law to the facts in front of them. I think the jury did the right thing, but by far. What's happened in the West is definitely under Agenda 21 has been a drive to depopulate the West, to destroy the industry of the West and the independence of the West, and it's all part of their world socialist dream to put us all into cities and force us to be subservient and dependent on them. So So that's part of that agenda, and we all agree on that. We might disagree on tactics or strategy. I disagree with the Malheur occupation. That was bad strategy because it painted us as the aggressors. I consider it to be a bit like John Brown's taking of the Harper's Ferry armory. It was bad strategy, but in the long run, they're right. The West is being stolen. So I think President Trump will have a great opportunity to do the right thing by the West and roll back these land grabs. And frankly, they should get rid of the Antiquities Act. And even better, they should recognize the ownership of this land by the Western states. The states got robbed at statehood. They did not come in under equal footing. They did not have the same ownership of their own lands as the Eastern states. You can just look at a map and see the difference. Huge swaths of the West are claimed by the federal government, but it's not that way in Virginia or one of the other original colonies. So I think Trump should immediately pardon them all. He should pardon those who've been prosecuted and convicted or took plea bargains, and he should cease all prosecutions of the rest of them. Much like George Washington pardoned all of the leaders of the Whiskey Rebellion when they were convicted, he pardoned them because he wanted things to calm down and it was the right thing to do. And I think Trump should do the same thing. If Obama can pardon a bunch of drug dealers, then Trump can pardon a bunch of cowboys and veterans.
Well, what do you think the chances of that happening?
I think it's good if we put pressure on him. I mean, like I said, Obama just got done pardoning a bunch of street thugs. I don't see why we couldn't convince Trump to do the right thing if you put enough pressure on it. So that's the thing about this administration coming in, is if you just sit back and say, oh, everything's fine because we got Trump in there, he has neoconservatives that already wormed their way into his administration, and they could push him to do things just like with Reagan that you wouldn't expect him to do. So we got to put pressure on him. And I think the analogy to Washington is appropriate. I'm sure Trump's a kind of a law and order kind of guy. So you might think he might not be in favor of pardons, but when it comes to this situation here, I think you've got some well-intentioned cowboys and veterans who were trying to do the right thing. And I think the abuse on the other side was so bad, and who was doing it? These are open enemies of our Constitution. I think it's a pretty blatant example of when a pardon is appropriate. That's what pardons are for.
Well, he's come out and talked about the Department of Education and gutting that, among other things. I don't know if you've heard him. He said some things about the BLM. Have you heard his stance on the BLM and how he's going to look at that?
No, I really haven't, and I think it's one example of an area where Trump might not really know enough.
Right.
And so just like with anything else, just like with some of the statements he's made about the no-fly list, for example, I'm on the damn no-fly list. I can't fly anywhere without permission from DHS.
Oh,
and I think Trump was very wrong about that. So I think that's another example where we have to educate him and push.
We got to go to break. We'll be back after this 3-minute break. We'll get more into this and into your calls. So get ready to call if you have questions for Stewart Rhodes from Oathkeepers.org. We'll be back. 3-minute break.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Honey, what is that in your CPAP mask?
Oh, that's just my mold collection.
Oh, gross! And what is that?
What, that bacteria colony right there? Yeah, cool, huh?
Okay, CPAP users, admit it. You're not always as careful about cleaning your system as you should be. Unfortunately, a dirty mask and hose can make you sick. Respiratory infections, allergy attacks, and more. But now there's an easy way to protect yourself. SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It kills 99.9% of CPAP germs in minutes. For a limited time, you can try it risk-free for 30 days. Just call 1-800-944-1065. So clean is hands-free. Just pop in your mask, close the lid, and presto, your CPAP comes out clean and fresh in minutes. Don't let germs wreak havoc on your health. Call in the next 10 minutes for your risk-free trial. 1-800-944-1065. That's 1-800-944-1065.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut, presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
Welcome back to the Power Hour, 33 minutes after the hour. We're with our guest, Stewart Rhodes, and discussing, pretty much like everything is, all things Trump, or at least in perspective of Trump, and looking at the world from a different viewpoint, and actually having hope that some of these things and the injustices that we've seen may be corrected. I'd like to take also a second to remind you guys to support us, and just really support yourself at the Power Hour. The number is 877-817-9829. That's where we get the fuel to drive this car and to power up the engine that we have here. And to keep this thing moving on, we got so many good sales about everyday things that you have. Mother Earth Minerals, 20% off. Remember, Know the Name, Know the Person, that book, that's on sale from Sharon Lynn Wyeth. I just loved having her on. That was so interesting. She just totally nailed my children. You have no idea. Massimo Zucco's videos are on sale. Those are reference level type videos that you're going to be sure to want. Coconut oil, all those things. Bruce Fife's books, we're going to talk about that next hour, all on sale. Dr. Brownstone's books about ozone, and so many sales, everyday things. Please check them out at the Power Hour, 877-817-9829. They're there now to take your call, or check out the Power Mall. Stewart, one of the and everybody, if you have a question for Stewart, go ahead and call in 855-995-6923, 855-995-6923. We'll get some calls from Stewart here in just a minute. One of the things that I wanted to focus on in my time on the Power Hour is this reinfecting people with knowledge of the Constitution. I think that it's been quite obvious that intentionally or not, knowledge of our founding and what this country is and what law is has been totally absent in our schools, and we've suffered for it. Why don't you talk a little bit about that and how your organization is correcting that? And then that, we glossed over it, but how important jury nullification is, and how that's the ultimate line, and how an amazing example of the Bill of Rights in effect that got Bundy and his cohorts off in Oregon.
Well, the first topic of lack of knowledge, that's exactly right. There's been as the Marxists themselves pointed out, they did the long march through the institutions. They took over the educational wing. And so that's why we're going to be on college campuses this year, starting, in fact, right after the inauguration, starting our first chapters of Oathkeeper college student groups, and then eventually also into the high schools. We want to counteract the brainwashing these kids get and the lack of knowledge. And that's really it. I mean, one of the, on our side, the Internet has been the greatest tool because it's not controlled by the establishment. There's alternate sources of information out there. And frankly, they've been, partially successful in brainwashing a lot of the ones that go to college especially, but in high schools, it's mostly just ignorance. They don't really successfully brainwash them, but they just don't know enough. So we're gonna do our best to counteract that, and while we're at it, teach them how to defend themselves. But that just goes back to the core problem in the United States is inside of government, inside of our political parties, is a lack of knowledge of what the true, what the Constitution really means. And you bring up a good point. Jury nullification, or jury power, is the way to put it, is a key element of the power of the people inside the United States. Another key element is, of course, the militia. These are two bodies that are really important in the way our government's supposed to work, because you have the ultimate power of judgment in the hands of the people themselves, in no one else's hands. No governor, no mayor, no police chief, no sheriff. Not even the president himself can point his finger at you and call you guilty under the Founders' Constitution. It must be a jury of your peers. And the same goes with the ultimate military power. It's supposed to be in the hands of the people, of we the people as the militia. Both of those institutions have been slowly and methodically undermined and shrunken down to where they're put in a neat little box. Now the National Guard is supposed to be the militia, not all of us. And now the jury is told, they're lied to by judges and told that they must follow the judge's instructions, which they clearly don't have to. So, the power elites have slowly over time eroded the power of those two institutions.
If you want to win a bet with some of your friends sometime, I often ask people, where is the highest form of judicial power in this country? And many people, of course, they'll say the Supreme Court, but it's right on you. Right. That's what they don't want you to know. You talked about ignorance, and I was really shooken when I saw how many young people supported Bernie Sanders. I mean, let's not mince words. Bernie Sanders is about 2 steps away from a full-blown communist. And for him to get so much support by the young people, I think is a result of the educational system basically raising socialists. Our children are becoming socialists. What's your opinion there?
Absolutely. That's why my kids are all homeschooled. We have 6 children, and they're all homeschooled. The best thing you can do is take your kids out of it. Don't put them in an indoctrination center in the first place. But you're right, and this is what I mean by the long march. So they've done it. So there's some really good videos out there. There's one called Cultural Marxism by James Yeager. I recommend people go and watch that movie. There's also one, I believe, called Corporate Fascism, about the rise of the corporate state in the United States. And then two go hand in hand. That's why guys like George Soros fund radical communist movements, because they enjoy that. They want the monopoly, and they want that kind of power. So the two are, you have the actual communist, and yes, I think Bernie Sanders is really a communist. As Mike Vanderbilt said, as the founder of the 3%er movement, he said, a socialist is just a communist who has not found his AK yet. So what he means is that they're really the same. Wow. The only difference is the degree of violence they're willing to use at this time. Eventually, though, they wind up in the same place. As we're seeing now, in reaction to Trump being elected, you're seeing them, threaten violence and use violence. I think we have a long way to go to deprogram the youth in this country, and we have to be on the college campuses to do it.
Well, you can totally see everything would have went a lot different if Hillary would have been elected. This would have been everybody would have been happy and peace, love, and holding hands. But now that they didn't get their way, they're like you said, they're starting to warm that AK up. And it's interesting that Bernie Sanders, think about it, this grandpa-like, almost Muppet-like figure they got. Don't you want free education? Don't just nice as pie? You almost gotta geez, Bernie seems like halfway nice guy,
Right. Yeah, he's whispering sweet nothings in your ear while he's preparing you for the ditch.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you see this going? You're a lawyer and graduated from law school from Yale. What do you see as far as the justice system in general, the court system? Do you see things tide turning, or do you see it more becoming administrative and separating from the Constitution, or do you see a connection to the Constitution? Which do you see?
No, I think we're in deep trouble. aside from people like Judge Napolitano or Evan Vieira, we have very few true constitutionalists in the legal profession who understand the Constitution. And those would be my two top picks for Supreme Court. Of course, they're nowhere on Trump's list. I have to ask why. So I think we are in deep doo-doo when it comes to the courts. You can look at the bipartisan destruction of the right to jury trial with the courts. You got both conservatives and liberals on the court, both agreeing with that lie I was talking about, where the judges lie to the jury and tell them they must follow the judge's instructions. They both worship the judge as the final arbiter of everything. So I think we have a really long way to go. Frankly, we should have some impeachments. They should remove him from the bench. But
well,
good luck with that.
Yeah, completely. Well, if you're listening at home and you're not quite following what he's talking about, if there's a trial and say somebody's on for it doesn't matter what the trial, it's a jury trial. The judge oftentimes in many states will give the jury the instructions that they must follow the law. Here's the law, they must follow it, and the judge is directing and telling the jury what to do, becoming a kept and directed jury. It's one step away from no jury at all. Well, the foundation of this country was completely the opposite, that the jury always can judge the law or the person, even if they feel the person's guilty. If they feel the law is not guilty or is a bad law, then they vote not guilty. The ultimate power is in their hands. This is one of the ultimate powers, and you mentioned the militia, and this is also, look back at the Prohibition. Jury nullification was one of the reasons that Prohibition was done away with in this country, because it got to where juries just weren't convicting people, ruining their lives because they were drinking a beer.
That's right, and also the Fugitive Slave Act. They had juries who were refusing to convict people for aiding runaway slaves. So go back to the Zangler trial. The first trial where they used jury nullification here in the United States. It's a bedrock function of the people's jury is to be able to push back and say no. That's the whole point of a jury.
Well, if you guys have any questions for Stewart, give us a call now at 855-995-6923. 855-995-6923. Where do you think this is going? I see two different, for so long I've seen this old media and new media clash with the quote-unquote mainstream media overpowering. But now I don't think that's the case. Trump is now talking about even removing press from the White House. This is a new day. Yeah, well, that's what they're talking about. Where do you see this going?
I think the so-called mainstream media is in its death throes. I think they have become such an open propaganda arm of the Democratic Party that they have no credibility with anyone who's not a Democrat. They're a party mouthpiece is all they are. So absolutely, he should show them no respect. They're not acting as a real independent press and watchdog. They're just partisans. They're like Pravda under the Soviet Union. So, I think he should kick them out. They're not real press anymore. They're the actual fake news. I think it's pretty hilarious that they're trying to use that now against us when it's actually what they're doing. So, more power to him. I think the more he shows disrespect for them, the better.
Did you see when he pointed his finger at CNN and said, "You're fake news," the CNN correspondent? Yeah. Did you see that clip? What went through your mind when he said that?
It's about time. So, I think we have to make sure we steer him in the right direction. Like, I think one of the first things we should demand from him is that he call up the National Guard and put them on the border. There's no reason he can't do that. They don't have to wait for Congress. So let's see, as a litmus test of Trump, let's see if he'll keep a core campaign promise. There's no reason why he can't do it right now. He can put a wall of troops on the border. He can do it tomorrow. As soon as he's inaugurated and sworn in, he can do it.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, if you could make a list of the top, 3 or 4 things when Trump gets in, this is what I want to see happen. So that's on your list. That's regard to the border. What would your other 2 or 3 top things?
Directing the Department of the Interior and the BLM to stay hands off the ranchers and leave them alone, and not enforce whatever Obama put in. I don't even care if it's through the Antiquities Act. So what? He could say that's unconstitutional. I'm not going to direct my people to enforce that, and then fight it out in court. But I think he should just, immediately curb or order them them to stand down and leave the damn ranchers alone and let them ranch and let them farm, let the farmers farm in the West. So I think that's a huge issue, and that's who got him elected. It was all the people in flyover country. It's not the city slickers, so he should just do the right thing by the people in flyover country. Third thing he should do is he should end the no-fly list for American citizens. If you're a prohibited person, then you can't buy a gun because you're convicted of a crime. That's one thing, but to put you on a dang, no due process list of people who could be deprived of your right to bear arms, I think that's ridiculous. And so he should not use that and should end it. And then the third thing he should do is he should, once he's locked the border up, he should start deporting the illegal aliens. He should. And I'm saying this as a guy whose family on my mother's side came from Mexico. They came here because Mexico sucked, and they don't want America to turn into Mexico, and I don't either. So I think we need to draw a hard line on that and push back.
Awesome.
Because that's the whole point, is to bring in new voters for the Democrats. That's what they want.
Oh, it seems pretty
unless someone's going to come here and assimilate, they should go home.
How do we get that message across to him? Because I don't want people to fall asleep. We've organized to get a big victory here. How do we keep pumping?
I don't know. We see it already happening now. We got people who are they're kind of like the frogs in the pot. They look up, and because they see a Republican chef, they go back to sleep, and then the heat just keeps getting turned up higher and higher. So I think we have to just keep pushing on people to not get complacent. Don't just sit back and think you won.
Well, we got a couple of calls. Well, I look at it as, Paul Craig Roberts was on the show, and he made the analogy that it's we just slew Goliath, but we haven't chopped his head off. That's basically what happened. We haven't cut the Goliath's head off. We have
of course,
a couple
then the heart and soul of it's the Federal Reserve. Let's not forget about that. So I think it's one of those things where it's one step at a time. The things that he can do by executive order right away to undo Obama's damage, he should do. First thing up.
Absolutely.
The next thing, I think, is the military going on the border.
Absolutely. We're going to go to a caller now. We have John in Missouri. John in Missouri, you are live on the air on the Power Hour with Stewart Rhodes.
I got to meet you a few years ago. This is very pleasurable.
Hey, John.
You're talking about the judges and the court. Besides our financial system, I see the judges and the judicial system as probably our number one problem. They will take you to court. They will ridicule you. They will persecute you. You get nothing if that judge will manipulate that jury in a heartbeat. I had a judge that actually picked the jurors.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. That's why I no longer practice law, and thankfully, I'm out of that system. I think it's so horrible that I no longer want to be a lawyer. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Then the people that see this, and forgive me, but the bulk of them believe that we have an honorable system, and we are far from an honorable system anymore. How they can do what they do is beyond anybody's imagination if you actually see it. I didn't think that it would ever happen, but it sure did. So how do we, now, forgive me, but I'm going to ask you a question, and I think they take an oath, and then they have a bond. Now, my question is, if you can attach that bond or put a claim on their bond that they violated your rights, what happens to them in their oath?
Nothing, because they run the courts run the recognized final arbiter of what's right and wrong. That's the problem. They should be impeached. That's what should happen. I think the best solution is to get your legislators to start using the power of impeachment again. They haven't impeached a judge in forever. So to me, that's the best recourse. But the problem with that is, who are your legislators? Almost always, they're lawyers, right? So they're part of that same system. So we have a lot of work to do, and it might not happen before we wind up in a civil war in this country. I don't know.
John, is there any other question or comment that you have, John?
I would much rather see it be peaceful than the other end of it.
I would too, but I just don't know if we can do it. We'll see. That's why we need to take advantage of this next, whatever time we have right now. I would not count on 4 years. I think you need to push as hard as you can in the next year or two, but you got to clean out the Republican Party. That's the first place to start.
Are you
purge out the John McCains? If you still have John McCain sticking around, you got a problem. Why can't we get rid of him?
That's a good point. Yeah. We're coming on a break. We got a 3-minute break. Linda, please hold. We're going to come to you right after the break. We have one more segment with Stewart Rhodes. It's so great to have you on, Stewart. 3-minute break, and then we'll be back with Stewart Rhodes. 3 minutes.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pileski of the Pileski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Break the bond to Big Pharma. Hi, it's Joyce Riley with the Power Hour to tell you about the powerful benefits of Strauss Heart Drops. Many people today are locked into the routine of taking multiple prescription drugs. Strauss Herb Company believes that everything the body needs is provided by nature. Strauss Heart Drops may clear congested arteries, restore damaged muscle, maintain healthy cholesterol levels, and flush toxins and metals from the body. They may even be helpful in treating varicose veins. And unlike prescription drugs that are packed with chemicals, Strauss Heart Drops are 100% natural and harness the healing power of herbs like garlic, cayenne, white willow bark, and mistletoe. For the full line of Strauss products, I urge you to call the Power Hour at 877-817-9829. That's 877-817-9829. Or visit thepowermall.com. And remember, beware of knockoffs. Get the original. Get Strauss Heart Drops.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon you'll need a plan and place to survive. Forget bunkers. You're not a live underground gopher. You need survivalist camps, the ultimate fully functional, off-the-grid mobile survival bug-out house that's well-equipped and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Bold statement? You bet. See them now at survivalistcamps.com. That's survivalistcamps.com. Trust your family's survival to survivalistcamps.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. See website for details. Need some extra cash today? Do you have bad credit or maxed out credit cards? If so, turn your radio up. 79cash.com is one of the nation's largest personal loan networks with over 50 different lenders. Now you can get a personal loan for up to $5,000 with any type of credit discreetly from your computer or smartphone and with no paperwork to send in. That's right, no paperwork whatsoever. Your cash will hit your bank account as soon as tomorrow, as our lenders have millions of dollars to lend regardless of your credit history. Visit 79cash.com and you can have up to $5,000 in no time. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income and you can get the loan you need now, regardless of your credit. Go to 79cash.com from your smartphone or computer to get the cash you need. Visit 79cash.com. Type www.79cash.com directly into the address bar. That's 79cash.com. 79cash.com.
Welcome back to the Power Hour, 54 minutes after the hour. We're talking to Stewart Rhodes. We got 2 more segments with him, and we've been all over the board, talked about land grabs and Disrupt J20 and what's going on. Oathkeepers.org is his organization. He's the founder. He really is an organization to inform and protect really what America is, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. What else is that worth even protecting? We have a couple callers. Real quickly, before we go to the callers, you talk about lawyers in judicial system and how they'll prefer to they won't unseat judges a lot of times. Are you of the opinion that the Constitution prohibits lawyers from having public office because of the titles of nobility clause?
I never used the Esquire label when I was a lawyer. I think, most of our founders were lawyers, so I think the answer is no, but I don't think you should use Esquire. I think that is a title of nobility. But I think that we get sidetracked in that too much. The big problem is the worship of judges and the setting aside the responsibility of legislatures. As James Madison and Thomas Jefferson showed us in the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions, it's not just up to the courts to say what the Constitution is. It's a responsibility of all three branches and both the state and the federal government. So they've abdicated all the responsibilities. They'll pass whatever they think is fine. Then they'll say, well, if it's not constitutional, the judges will let us know. That's abdicating their responsibility under their oath. So I think that's the first thing we got to do is get back to that individual responsibility of every legislator to judge whether something's constitutional or not, and then vote on that basis. As Ron Paul, my old boss, used to say, that's the first question: is it constitutional or not? Not whether you think it's a good idea. And I think that people have to hold them to that, and that goes back to cleaning out the Republican Party. We have a problem in this country with party loyalty, where you have people who will vote Republican no matter what. That's why you have John McCain and Lindsey Graham and other turncoats selling us down the river.
And the ultimate check is the Seventh Amendment of the Bill of Rights, the trial by jury. Let's go to Linda.
Well, and the militia. Go back
and the militia, the Second Amendment.
Two key institutions.
So key, everybody. I hope you guys are printing out a Bill of Rights and have it on your refrigerator so you can go over these things and see them, have them in your eyes. But anyway, let's go to Linda in Texas. Linda in Texas, you're live with Stewart Rhodes.
Oh, good day, boys. But I have to say that you are bashing Bernie, and I'm a senior citizen. I just turned 68 years old. I could not bring myself to vote for Hillary or Trump because of their behaviors, speech, actions. And I was a supporter of Bernie because he has, over a long period of time, supported clean water, American Indians, anti-nuclear, anti-fracking, medical marijuana, anti-Wall Street, anti-military industrial complex, all the things that we, the Power Hour listeners, for the most part, listen to and abide by. And my question to you is, does it not concern you that Trump is surrounding himself with military industrial complex type people? My Governor Perry from Texas, who's a pro-fracking person and actually sits on the board of directors of the companies that are fracking Standing Rock and as well in our national park here, Big Bend. That company is fracking to sell oil and gas to Mexico. We don't even get it. So does that not concern you that Wall Street banksters are sitting and surrounding him, that he's choosing, and I have heard Dick Cheney as a consultant, and I'll take my answer off the air.
It does concern me, and that's why I mentioned earlier that there's two films by James Yeager everyone should watch. One is Cultural Marxism, about the Marxist push in the United States, and the other one's called Corporate Fascism, which is about what you're talking about, the money interests of the Wall Streeters. So they're certainly right about some of the problems. Like quite a few.
We're going to have a break. Quick, 1 minute, 10-second break. We'll be back with just really quick break. Thank you for the question, Linda. Gary, Jack, Phil, you're on hold.